All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
You ready to unlock some serious life upgrades? Because today, we're cracking open Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Ah, fantastic choice. Really a game changer, this one.
Right. It's been topping those bestseller lists for a reason. So many of you wanted to deep dive into this one. And you know what? I devoured this thing cover to cover. And I got to say, Clear delivers those golden nuggets of wisdom with a side of, let's do this. It's so refreshing.
Totally agree. It's not just theory. It's like he's right there with you, giving you the tools and the pep talk to actually make those changes.
Exactly. And speaking of pep talk, can we talk about Clear's own story for a second? I mean, the guy goes through this brutal baseball injury, has to relearn like everything, and then comes back stronger than ever.
Right. Talk about walking the walk. He doesn't just preach this stuff. He's lived it. That whole experience is like the ultimate proof that small changes really do add up to remarkable results.
Absolutely. It's like he says, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
So true. And that's where Atomic Habits comes in, those tiny improvements we make day in and day out. They might seem insignificant on their own, but over time they have this compounding effect like interest.
Exactly. And he uses this brilliant analogy in the book about charting the course of your choices. Imagine plotting your daily decisions on a graph over 10, 20 years. The difference between consistently good choices and, well, let's just say not so good choices, it's mind-blowing.
It's like that saying, right? We are what we repeatedly do. Our habits, they're not just actions, they're votes for the kind of person we want to become.
Okay, that is such a powerful way to think about it. Every choice we make is like casting a vote for our future selves.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, we have the power to change our votes at any time. We're not stuck with the habits we have. We can consciously choose to create new ones that serve us lower.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we go from autopilot to consciously crafting those positive habits? Well, Clear says it's about focusing on systems over goals.
Ah, the classic goals versus systems debate. Clear nails it when he says, goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results.
So it's not enough to just say, I want to be healthier.
Right.
We need a system in place that actually supports that goal.
Right. It's like having a roadmap instead of just a destination in mind. And the beautiful thing about systems is that they take the pressure off that end goal.
So instead of freaking out about losing 20 pounds, you're focused on building the habits that will get you there, like making time for exercise, prepping healthy meals, getting enough sleep.
You got it. It's about falling in love with the process, not the product. And when you focus on the system, the results tend to take care of themselves.
That is so key. It's not about this big dramatic overhaul. It's about those small, sustainable changes that add up over time.
And that's where the magic happens. When those tiny changes become ingrained in who you are, they become part of your identity.
And that brings us to one of the most fascinating concepts in the book, identity-based habits. It's this idea that our habits aren't just actions. They're reflections of who we believe we are.
Exactly. Think about it. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. They're intertwined.
So it's not just about wanting to be a writer. It's about believing you are a writer and acting accordingly. So you make time for writing every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. You surround yourself with other writers, you read books on the craft, you embody that identity.
Precisely. And Clear puts it so well. What you repeatedly do, i.e. what you spend time thinking about and doing each day, ultimately forms the person you are, the things you believe, and the personality that you portray.
It's like our habits are constantly sculpting the person we're becoming.
Exactly. So the question is, what kind of person do you want to become? And what habits can you start building today to make that vision a reality?
It's like we're constantly creating and recreating ourselves with every choice we make, every action we take.
Absolutely. And that's both empowering and a little daunting, right? But the good news is, Clear gives us this incredibly practical framework for putting those insights into action. He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change.
The 4 laws. Okay, I've got my notepad ready. These sound like the secret sauce.
They really are. They're like the fundamental principles for understanding how habits work and how we can design them to our advantage.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Lay it on us. Law number 1.
Law number 1, make it obvious. Clear argues that most of our habits never even make it to conscious awareness. They're just these automatic responses to our environment.
So true. Like when you walk into the kitchen and just mindlessly grab a snack, even though you're not actually hungry.
Exactly. Our brains are wired to conserve energy, so they create these mental shortcuts based on past experiences. So if you've created a habit of snacking in the kitchen every time you walk in, Well, your brain's just going to keep running that program unless you interrupt it.
Okay, so how do we interrupt that program? How do we make those unconscious habits more obvious?
Clear suggests something he calls a habits scorecard. It's super simple, but surprisingly effective. You basically just list out all your daily habits, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, so like a personal habit inventory I'm in.
Exactly. And the point isn't to judge yourself or feel bad about the not-so-great habits. It's simply to bring them into awareness. Because once you're aware of them, you can start to make conscious choices about whether you want to keep them or change them.
It's like shining a light on those autopilot behaviors. Suddenly you're not just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, you're actively choosing to do so.
Exactly. And that awareness gives you the power to decide, is this habit serving me? Or is it time to hit the reset button?
Love that. Okay, so we've made it obvious. What's next?
Law number 2, make it attractive. We humans are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, and our habits are no different. We're more likely to repeat behaviors that we find enjoyable or rewarding.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we make those healthy habits more appealing? I mean, let's be real, a salad isn't always as tempting as a slice of pizza.
True. But here's the thing, we can actually hack our brains to make healthy habits more appealing by associating them with positive feelings.
Okay, how do we do that?
One way is to use a technique called temptation bundling. This is where you pair an activity you want to do with an activity you need to do.
Oh, interesting. Give me an example.
Sure, let's say you love listening to podcasts, but you also know you need to get more exercise. You could try temptation bundling by only allowing yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you're on a walk or at the gym.
I love that. It's like tricking your brain into craving something healthy by linking it to something you already enjoy.
Exactly. And here's another cool thing about this law. We're also more likely to adopt habits that are popular within our social circles.
Oh, yeah, totally. If all your friends are into yoga, you're more likely to give it a try, right?
Right. So surround yourself with people who have the habits you want to develop. Their positive influence can be incredibly powerful.
Love that. All right, on to law number 3. What's the secret sauce for actually sticking with those new habits?
Law number 3, make it easy. We humans are naturally inclined to choose the path of least resistance. So if we want to make a habit stick, we need to make it as frictionless as possible.
Okay, so less struggle, more flow, right?
Exactly. Claire calls this the 2-minute rule.
2 minutes. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The idea is that any new habit you want to build should take no more than 2 minutes to start. So instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes, start with just 2 minutes a day. Instead of aiming for a 5-mile run, start with a 2-minute walk around the block.
It's about lowering that barrier to entry, right? Making it so easy you can't say no.
Exactly. And here's the cool part. Once you've overcome that initial resistance, you're much more likely to keep going. You've built momentum.
It's like that feeling when you're reading a good book and you tell yourself just one more chapter, and then suddenly it's 2 hours later.
Exactly. You get in the zone.
Yeah.
And that's what we're aiming for with our habits, creating that positive feedback loop where we want to keep coming back for more.
I love that. All right, we've made it obvious, we've made it attractive, we've made it easy. Bring on law number 4.
Law number 4, make it satisfying. This one's all about the reward. We're more likely to repeat behaviors that bring us pleasure or satisfaction, and less likely to repeat behaviors that bring us pain or discomfort.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But how do we make sure those healthy habits feel good?
One way is to use a habit tracker. There's something incredibly satisfying about visually seeing your progress, tracking those wins, and watching those chains grow longer.
Oh, I love a good habit tracker. It's like giving yourself a gold star for every successful day.
Exactly. It taps into our brain's reward system. And speaking of rewards, another powerful strategy is to give yourself an actual reward when you stick to a habit, whether it's a small treat, a relaxing activity, or even just permission to indulge in a little guilt-free downtime.
It's like that feeling of accomplishment after a great workout. You feel so good you want to do it again tomorrow. It's like we're training our brains to crave those healthy habits by associating them with positive reinforcement.
Exactly. We're literally rewiring our reward pathways. And the best part is it actually works. Our brains are incredibly adaptable.
That's so encouraging to hear. So we've covered the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. What else can we do to really solidify those atomic habits and turn them into lasting change?
Well, Clear talks about the importance of having a system for dealing with setbacks. Because, let's face it, we're all human. We're going to slip up every now and then.
Oh yeah, for sure. Life happens.
Exactly. And the key is to not let those slip-ups derail us completely.
So true. It's so easy to fall into that all or nothing thinking. Like, oh, I messed up today. Might as well just give up.
Right. But Clear emphasizes that it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. He calls this the never miss twice rule.
Never miss twice. I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
It's simple, but powerful. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Just make sure you get back on track the next day. Don't let one slip up turn into two. Don't let a bad day turn into a bad week or a bad month.
It's about building that resilience, right?
Yeah.
Bouncing back from those inevitable setbacks.
Exactly. And remember those tiny changes we talked about? They work both ways. When we consistently choose those positive habits, they compound over time. But the same is true for negative habits.
So true. It's like that saying, take care of your pennies and the pounds will take care of themselves. But in this case, it's take care of your habits and your future self will thank you.
I love that. And speaking of our future selves, that's what this all comes down to, right? Making choices today that our future selves will be proud of.
Absolutely. It's about playing the long game. Building a life we love, one good habit at a time. Well, this deep dive into atomic habits has been absolutely incredible. I don't know about you, but my mind is officially blown.
Mine too. James Clear has given us so much to think about, and more importantly, so much we can actually put into practice starting today.
Exactly. So for all you listeners out there ready to level up your lives, I highly recommend checking out Atomic Habits. It's a game changer. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. As always, keep those curious minds buzzing, and we'll catch you in the next episode.